Hey everyone, welcome to Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance. I am Becky, and I am super excited for their first time joining me. One of our new contributors, Amanda. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Becky. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
This is what you get for answering your text messages.
I know. I know. I'm excited to be here.
We are
So,
super excited to have you. Um, So before we get into our quick shot of romance, I want to take a minute because I know you because you've been a member of the community for a year, but I would like to introduce you to the rest of our community so they kind of know who Amanda is. Um,
okay.
so Amanda, tell us, first of all, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Instagram at Amanda Grace Reads. Um, there's a underscore in between Grace and Reads, and also on Facebook under Amanda Grace.
Okay, and I will link it in our on the shelf show notes so you guys can give her a follow, and we'll also grab her Goodreads for you guys so you can follow her
Oh yeah.
reviews. So what's your favorite trope?
My favorite trope is siblings' best friend. Um, Probably more brother's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I like both.
That's one of those tropes that's kind of like catnip. That an age gap for me. Like you say those words, and I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of that trope? Like, what is it about that trope that kind of you're like, yeah, I like this one.
I think I probably started discovering it was my favorite when I started reading a lot of military or security
Mm-hmm.
force romances, and I love it when it's, a teammate's sister.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and it's usually they don't usually get very mad about it either. So there's always like, oh well, if I trust my sister or brother with anyone, it's you, kind of thing.
Right.
So
Which I think is unique to romantic suspense and military romances because in just like small town contemporaries, sometimes the siblings are like over the top freak out about that you're dating their little sister or something. And it's like, guys,
yeah, I don't love those so much, but
me
you know.
neither. But we'll take the good and the bad, right? So do you have one book that you have reread, like that's your all-time comfort read?
I could make an argument for any Nora Roberts book written before 2010,
Yeah.
because I had to wait a year for a new one to come out, so I would reread my old ones, every day until it came out. So probably Tribute, by Nora Roberts is the one I've read the most.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I too was a rereader because we used to have to wait a really long time
Yes.
for the next book from an author. So, you would reread. And also, like, until the indie market exploded 2012, 2013, trad pub offerings were kind of slim. So you did reread your favorites over and over again.
Yes.
Um, so I have read Tribute also by Nora Roberts. I like Nora Roberts. Her books have kind of moved a little bit more towards suspense thriller, less romance. But
Yeah.
some of her old school ones have some pretty good romance in them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, okay, so we're going to get on to our quick shot of romance. I'm super
Okay.
excited to talk about this one with everyone. So, on this quick shot of romance, we are reviewing Hollywood Playboy by Natasha Madison. This is book one in her Hollywood Royalty, I think is what the series is called.
Yes.
And we'll link the synopsis of the book in our on the shelf show notes at buzzingaboutromance.com. This book was released January 29th of 2019. It's a Hollywood norm. So when we say Hollywood norm, that means one of the characters is Hollywood and the other one is just average, everyday person. This is a lesser done trope. It used to be done a whole ton more in the early 2000s. There was a whole like trad pub revolution of Hollywood norm romances. I wish more people did them. I love them.
I love them when they're done well. I've read a few, that they take the Hollywood persona a little too far, I
Yeah.
think.
I think it's kind of like Rockstar too, though. I think that
Yes.
it can lean a little too far into the stereotypes, and then we don't really
Yeah,
get an authentic character.
that makes complete sense.
So these two are enemies to lovers, close proximity, I will say almost forced because they are like on an airplane at times stuck together. Um, and this is Opposites Attract. There's a little bit of a foodie element to this book. The whole time I was reading this book, I kept thinking of Carolina and her love of food references and romances.
Yes.
Because our hero takes, Tyler, he takes everybody to all these great little hidden gem of restaurants.
Yes, I was definitely thinking about the food aspect of it, and then also he takes it, a little further with the food, and I was texting Leah about that part.
Oh, yeah, she does like her spicy food scenes, but not spicy food. And there's travel in this. So it's a little bit of a travel fling
Yes.
because they have left the normity of life and are on this press junket. So that's kind of the setup of the book for that. The series is Hollywood royalty. These are interconnected standalones, dual first person. Put out percentage is 53%. Our audiobook narrators are Kai Kennicott and Wen Ross. Now, are you an audiobook listener?
No, I don't know what it is. There's the dialogue just throws me off. I'm not sure what it is, but I just
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I can only do audiobooks if I'm doing something physically active or something mundane, like dishes or playing Animal Crossing. Like then I can read, then I can listen to the audiobook that way. But if I just try to listen to an audiobook and, just relaxing or something, my mind wanders and I lose track of people.
yeah, and I'm a visual learner.
Okay.
So also too, like listening to something that I'm trying to remember is not necessarily something I do that well.
That's okay. Okay, and there is a third act breakup in this book, and I think we needed the third act breakup in this book.
Yes, I agree.
Now, I will say that this book, so our hero and heroine are Tyler and Jessica. And if you have not read this book, but you have read Natasha Madison's Made For series, Jessica and Tyler are Romeo's parents.
Yes.
So that is the connection. It's kind of like it's first gen. I guess it is. It's first gen, right?
Yeah, and that's the whole reason I picked this book up actually was because I wanted to read it before Romeo's book.
Yeah. So you have not read Romeo's book yet.
I have.
Oh, you have
I
now.
did actually. I did a whole binge of the Made For series after this book.
I
So
love the Made For series. It is, I think it's my favorite Natasha Madison series, the Made For series.
it might be. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably mine too. It's really well done.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Jessica, our heroine. She's kind of a badass.
She is a complete badass.
She's a reporter, but a Hollywood gossip reporter. I'd assume works for like a magazine like Entertainment Weekly kind of. It's a little more prestigious than a gossip rag, so it's not like National Enquirer.
Yeah, I was thinking Entertainment Weekly style
Yeah.
situation when I was reading it.
It's a little, yeah, because it's a little more, they have a little bit more clout than like a gossip rag would. Because, so the setup of this book was really unique.
It was.
Because we don't think about this in the world of how Hollywood runs, but so Tyler is the superstar, movie action star. I'm going to assume this is a movie, say, like John Wick or Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the star and the action hero. And they're going on a worldwide press junket. And they invite, is it 7 other reporters that will be with them throughout the entire press junket?
Yeah, I think there's a total of 9.
Is it
I believe
9?
was I think.
And our heroine is Jessica is invited, but she and Tyler have a history, but only within the fact that they circle within each other and just don't like each other. But they've never really met.
Yeah, they kind of set it up that she tries to scoop stories on him and he always like heads her off at the pass.
Yeah.
So that was part of the reason like she doesn't like him because he's always like foiling her attempts.
Well, and the way Natasha, so for you, what is it about these two characters that you really liked? Because I really liked the way Natasha Madison chose to kind of define these two characters.
I really liked the way they were described. Like you said, Jessica's a bit of a badass, and I'm not a huge fan of reporter characters.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned I read a lot of suspense, and a lot of times the reporter characters in those situations are trying to, find out some hidden information and want to expose like the hero or his family or something like that. So I typically don't like that, but she wasn't trying to do that at all. She was just, trying to do her job. And, she seems like she kind of fact checks, even though she's a celebrity reporter.
Yeah.
So
the ultimate professional, I think,
yes,
was one of the things. And she conducts herself even when, because there's some other side characters in this book that are not wonderful human beings. For example, Tyler's assistant.
oh, she's terrible.
She's the worst. But Jessica had the self-control, the professionalism to not call this bitch out on her shit.
Yes. She was completely professional, and I don't think she even snapped at her until she interfered with her job.
Yeah.
When she showed up to the meeting late.
Yeah, and I think that is really great, the way that Natasha chose to do that, because of giving Jessica this professionalism. It would have been very easy to put Tyler up on a pedestal and look at Jessica as almost kind of a little bit of an anti-hero, because she's going against him and constantly, digging and looking for things. But in reality, because of the way Natasha chose to describe her and put her into this book, you actually feel the opposite. Like, she gets exalted, and Tyler, you're like, dude, catch up and read a room.
Yes. That's completely how I felt about it. Like, she was the one that you were just like pulling for, I think.
And there wasn't anything in this book that I didn't think was necessary. It's really funny because it's not funny, haha, but it was funny, interesting. There is a scene in which Tyler kind of loses control of a situation with one of the other reporters and gets caught in what could be a very compromising situation. And,
Jessica fully believes it and doesn't question it. There was no like bad. I'm not saying that right, but
there was no angst. There was no anger. No angst.
Yes.
And I think what it did was it cemented that Jessica really does take people at face value.
Yes, I would agree.
But there was that line where like, yeah, you need to zip your zipper.
Yeah. And then immediately after is when they kind of got together.
Yeah.
So she had no hard feelings about it whatsoever.
It works really well because, again, it shows Jessica as being like smart, and she's picking up on the signals in the room, even though Tyler's kind of an idiot about things.
He is. He's not picking up the signals that several people are sending him in this book.
No. So if you listen to the podcast for any length of time, you know that enemies to lovers can be a little bit of a struggle for me, because a lot of times it feels like it goes from, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, to, oh my God, I love you, but this relationship of enemies to lovers, I would say probably they're more adversaries or rivals.
I would agree.
Than enemies. But they, the progression of them going from adversaries, being against each other, to kind of coming together and realizing, hey, at the very minimum, there's a friendship here.
Yes.
And I think it was that motorcycle ride.
Oh, that was so good.
It was so swoony.
It was. It really was. And also too, I think the also even their gym sessions together.
Oh,
because
yeah.
That's kind of when they started to get to know each other, when they were running on the treadmill next to each other. So between that and then the motorcycle, and it was really well done.
It was really well done. And I did enjoy I I really did enjoy their interactions in those morning gym sessions. Just because it kind of it took away all of the masks of their moments, and you kind of saw glimpses of who they really were.
Yes, I would agree.
Um, so there is a dark moment in this book, and I felt like this book really needed that. Um, it needed that, particularly after. So I'm kind of skipping around here a little bit, but there's a part where the big part of the premiere of the movie is going to be in Paris, and he invites his parents to join the movie tour, and chemistry is heating up between Jessica and Tyler, and you're really feeling it. And then he brings his parents in, and he isn't very good at communicating to everyone else that should know that Jessica is who he wants his parents to meet, because they're still kind of trying to keep things quiet, right?
Yes.
And I like that he did that, but then that's what ultimately leads up to this dark moment, right? Where
Yes.
things are going to go south for them.
Go bad.
And I think Jessica did it exactly what she needed to do. She just dropped and walked away. She didn't have the words, and I don't feel like she had an outlet to do it in a way that would have been professional. So for her character, it was a consistency of character piece for me. She drops everything and walks away.
That's a really good point. Because at first I was like, oh, she just walked away. I was like, oh no, but I mean, it needed to happen. But you make a really good point that, that fit her character. Because at first I was like, well, why didn't she just, she didn't say anything, or, she believed him before, but it's a totally different situation here.
Yeah, she believed him before, and there was this like power dynamic struggle piece between the assistant and Tyler, and where Jessica fit into her life, and because of them trying to keep these professional boundaries, every interaction that Jessica has throughout the book is at the utmost of professionalism.
Yes.
When she's told she's not needed to walk at the premiere with him in Paris, she continues to do her job, even though, like, she was emotionally broken.
Oh, yeah.
But her walking away and leaving is almost what needed to happen so that she could, again, continue to be the professional.
No, I agree. And the way you explain it makes perfect sense, because it fits.
Natasha Madison also really likes big emotion.
She does.
And this book, in the time that they are separated during the third act, my heart was breaking.
It was painful. Like,
Yeah.
I had that ache in my chest. I was like, oh, this hurts.
Your breath is catching and you're like, okay. And so, and I don't want to give anything away because I really hope people will go and pick this up. It is available in Kindle Unlimited. But do you think Tyler's grand gesture, because it wasn't really grand, was it enough? Because I am very hard on Natasha a lot of times, that I don't think her grand gestures are enough. Like, her heroes do not grovel enough. And I do secretly feel like Made for Romeo was written for me to show, like, look, I can make a hero grovel, Becky.
That's so funny.
She gives me such a hard time about it because I'm still mad at Nico.
I don't know that like you said, it wasn't a grand gesture, but I had the most highlights in that scene where he was like coming to her and he's like, I can't imagine my life without you. I can't breathe without you. Like that whole situation. I felt it like deep. And maybe it's just the way she wrote it so emotionally. So I didn't feel like he had to do this huge grand gesture, but I don't know. I was okay with it.
It was enough for you. I think if you look back to his roots, so his dad and his mom, she's a teacher, he's in construction. They're very not Hollywood. They're very simple, easy, normal people. I know, me too. They were great characters in this book. So if you think about the kind of parents that he had and how his upbringing was probably a very middle-class upbringing, like all of us had, right?
Yeah.
It was very un-Hollywood, the way he went to her. It was like he went back to his roots. Like, how would my dad have apologized to my mom?
Oh, that's a really good point.
So it creates this multi-tiered, heavier leveled character. And now you just kind of want to pick things apart, right? Like you want to think, okay, so that would make sense why he felt the need to feed her, because that's a very middle class feeling. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you feed those you love. And if you look at like, the adventure he took her on the bike ride, it wasn't fancy. It wasn't an exclusive spot that only VIPs can get into.
Yeah, it was all very understated.
Yeah. So that was like continuous character development, but also creates this very heavy, multi-layered character that made him very swoony and kind of book boyfriend.
Oh, he's on my shelf.
He's on your
after
shelf.
that. They both went on my shelf after that. So
they're pretty great.
Yeah, I don't know. I was in the mood for this, and it hit like everything that I wanted when I read it. And even if I wasn't in the mood for it, I still think I would have given it a really good review because it's so well done.
It was really well done. So if somebody really likes this book, what other books might they try? I love Faked by Kylie Scott. It's an excellent Hollywood norm. Again, he's a little bit more complex and he falls first, which I love. But do you have any recs?
The only one that I could think of off the top of my head was Wild Island Love by Melissa Foster, which isn't out yet.
Well, it'll be out by the time this book, or by the time this episode drops, it'll be out. And
that's true. I read these two books back to back.
Yeah.
And it was just...
Is your heart okay?
They both give all the... Yeah.
That's some big swoon.
It was really big swoon. But I felt like they both had that same level of just deep emotion.
Yeah.
They were both really sexy too. So I felt like you had both of them had everything going on.
Yeah. They were both really great books. I would agree with you. Wild Island Love. Yeah. These two books are fantastic. Anyway, Amanda, thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking Hollywood Playboy.
Thanks for having me, Becky. I really enjoyed it.
I can't wait to have you back. You guys can check out Amanda. I'll have a small little write-up for her on our website so you can check it out. And welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.